All right, AP Environmental Science. This is the third video of renewable energy that I've shown you today. Sorry I've had to do this, but I've had to break everything down into some smaller videos instead of one big one. Anyway, I want to finish up today with this topic of hydrogen as a fuel or hydrogen as an energy resource. This is something that's been looked at a lot in recent years, and it's kind of an exciting, or it has a really exciting, I think, potential to be used as an alternative to gasoline in cars. One of the big things that we've talked about with using gas as a fuel is that it does produce a lot of pollution. There's millions of cars on the road today, that are emitting carbon dioxide into the air, sulfur pollutants. I mean, all of this bad stuff that we've discussed. But this has the potential to be a real game changer. All right, so let's kind of talk about what it is and what some of the pros and cons of it are. So, what you're seeing here in this picture is a stripped down car that inside of it has what we call a hydrogen fuel cell. They call it a fuel cell stack. What's interesting about it is what happens inside of the hydrogen fuel cell. You just kind of look at the arrows. Okay, there's two things that are pointing in to that hydrogen fuel cell. And those two things are oxygen, which we just get from the air, and hydrogen gas, which has to be stored in these tanks in the back of the vehicle. Now, if those two things are allowed to react together, which that's what happens inside the hydrogen fuel cell, this reaction here takes place. Hydrogen plus oxygen produces energy, which we'll come back to in a second, and water. I mean, water is just a product of this reaction. So the hydrogen fuel cell would be spitting out water. Well, okay, big deal. It's just water, right? But the energy that's produced can be used for electrical current that can operate a motor. So essentially, this would be a gasoline-free vehicle. The motor would completely run on the electricity that's produced from that hydrogen fuel cell. All you need is oxygen gas and some hydrogen gas, and that's it. So, what's kind of interesting about this is we already do have vehicles that can operate this way. Um, this is a picture of a bus. I believe this is at the University of California. They have these buses there that run on hydrogen. There's zero emissions, there's zero pollution. They're not spewing out carbon dioxide and all these other greenhouse gases. So I mean, it is basically a pollution-free vehicle. And it also would be it would completely eliminate the need for gasoline. Which would make us much less dependent on foreign oil and all those types of things. So, I mean, there's some real interesting potential here. So, of course, what can possibly be so bad about this, right? I mean, there's always going to be some disadvantages. Well, the big issue with hydrogen cells is the hydrogen. If you know anything about hydrogen gas, it is extremely flammable and extremely explosive. So I don't know about you, but I wouldn't really want 2 barrels full of hydrogen gas in the back seat of my car. I don't know if I would want that, because if anything went wrong, if there was any type of ignition or any type of fire or something, or I don't know, anything that might possibly ignite that hydrogen, you would be a speck of dust. I mean, that's how big of an explosion this would be. So you wouldn't stand a chance. You would die instantly. So the fact that you're driving a car with some high explosives in it, that might be kind of an issue. So safety is a big problem. The other big issue is just obtaining the hydrogen in the first place. It's not that easy to do. It's not like you can just go out and scoop up some hydrogen gas whenever you want to. It actually has to be produced. So, one of the ways that we can do that is we can do it through a process called electrolysis. Now, electrolysis is a big fancy word for splitting water molecules. That's really what it is. So, this chemical reaction here, right, you see H2O, right? That's water. We can actually cause water to break down or decompose into two things. One of them is hydrogen, which we can collect that gas and use it for the fuel cells. And the other one is oxygen, which, we all know what that is. The problem is in order for this to happen, one, you have to use water. So you're going to be utilizing water. We all know that water is kind of a scarce commodity, especially fresh water. The other thing is that it involves electricity. So in order to get this to happen, you have to actually pass an electrical current through water. And in most cases, just to generate the electricity, that means burning fossil fuels in most cases, like in the United States, for example, but not always, but in a lot of cases. So that's kind of an issue. Now, the other way that we can obtain hydrogen is through natural gas. We can actually take methane, which is the primary component of natural gas, right? CH4. And again, we can force it to decompose, into hydrogen gas, which we can use for a fuel cell, and also carbon. The problem with that carbon is it could turn into CO2, which could go up into the atmosphere, and that would be a greenhouse gas. So, I mean, the process of obtaining the hydrogen is rather challenging without producing pollutants. All right, and that's kind of an issue. There's some drawbacks to it. It's not perfect, but again, if we could kind of minimize those disadvantages, this could be a really good thing. All right, guys, that's it for this particular topic. I will see you soon. Take care.